All right. Kiersten. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm AJ Cerna.
I'm Kiersten Michele.
And we are YA authors.
authors.
YA authors and just book lovers in general. And today we're here to talk about... What is our topic again? Oh yeah, books we'll never stop recommending because we're fans. We like to talk to people. We like to force our wills upon other people. So it's
My friends don't hate me at all.
So we're here to talk about the books that we will forever and ever and ever continue recommending. So stick around, have a snack, because we're going to be here for a bit. Hopefully our camera will not run out of batteries. Kiersten, what's your first book?
Well, the first book... I don't know why I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Okay. Now, the first book's our book. So, not our book. Obviously, we'd recommend our book. That's a whole other issue. Mm-hmm. No, this one is one we agree on that we will never stop recommending, and that is Skyward. So, he loves Brandon Sanderson. I'm talking for you, by the way, now. I had not heard of him until my husband told me about him. I read this. This is my first Brandon Sanderson book. Oh my god. I also, my general genre is YA. I love sci-fi, but I tend to skew more YA sci-fi than adult sci-fi. So, yeah, it was my vibe already, and then I read it, and I was like, I am obsessed. I've read a lot more Brandon Sanderson since then, and I'm continuing to read Brandon Sanderson, so congratulations, you won. But I also think this is just a wonderful book if you're interested in Brandon Sanderson or not, if you just like YA and sci-fi. This story, in terms of character development, in terms of world, I just think is really fun, and the series itself goes in such an interesting direction that even though the first story is pretty, it's a YA.
Leans into tropes?
Yeah, kind of.
Tropey.
But the actual series goes so far that you're just like, I did not see that coming. What? And it's so good. So, highly recommend.
So I may have won when it comes to Brandon Sanderson, but the next book I am talking about, I have not won about, well, at least with her. But the rest of the world has caught up, it seems like.
I still have questions what they're thinking.
I'm talking about One Piece, so this is volume 6. Obviously, the whole series I recommend. I've had issues with volumes 1 through 4 because I loaned out volumes 1 through 4 to some people, and they've yet to get back to me. I honestly don't even know where volume 5 is. But I'm really kind of bitter because I got first editions of the English printing of those back when Zolo was Zoro. And I know he's Zoro again in the anime in English, but it's Zolo still currently in the manga. So those editions are gone. But whatever. Anyways, this is a story about pirates. You have a boy who wants to be king of the pirates, and a long journey that ensues. It's awesome. I've been reading this series since high school, so probably close to 20 years at this point. I know we're approaching the end of the series. We're at the final arc, and so I'll continue to recommend this. The problem with Kiersten, is that she cannot read comics. Physically incapable of reading comics.
Called out!
Well, the reason why is because the anime is not nearly as good as the manga.
Maybe the live-action Netflix thing will be pretty good.
We'll see about that. I hope. But, I don't want to rely on it. And the anime is just... It has the same negative tropes that when it comes to adapting shonen manga, where it's transliterating the manga, and the problem with that is what works in comic doesn't really work on the screen, but they don't care. They just do it anyway. And that usually leads to a lot of repeated information and slow pacing. But anyways, check out the manga One Piece if you have not. I know there's a lot of people who have probably recommended this already. But yeah, it's amazing.
So the next book, as I'm grabbing it, I'm realizing I don't know if I know how to summarize this book. But I feel like a lot of people have heard about this book. But if you haven't, oh my god, go out, buy it immediately and read it. So Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor?
That sounds right.
I think it's Laini.
Yeah.
So Laini Taylor.
It's a terrible cover. I don't like the cover. I mean, no offense to whoever designed it, but I look at it and it looks like almost like a contemporary adult romance.
I don't see the romance, but it does look very contemporary. But yeah, this is one of the books that just surprised me. Like, I had heard about it for years, and I was like, once again, the cover, every cover I've seen of it, I was like, Even the, like, what it's about, I believe, so it's a little boy. Wow, I just made myself sound old. A young man.
How old is he?
He's probably, like, 18.
Oh, okay. A little boy.
A young man who loves books and history, pretty much ends up on this journey, accidentally, kind of not, accidentally for the other people, not for him, to find, like, a mythical city to save it from, well, I don't remember what they think they're saving it from, but there's something in the sky. There's something in the sky, and they don't know what it is. I feel like I cannot explain this because I don't remember exactly what is a spoiler and what is in the actual synopses. But it sounds like, whatever, that's fine. Oh my god, the characters and the world and the romance, which I did not see coming, which is not usually my thing that draws me in, but god, and the found family, and
It's the only reason we have this book is she recommended it. It was recommended by a bookseller to me, and she's like, oh yeah, she confirmed, like, oh yeah, this is really good, let's get it. And I was like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, let's get it.
You're gonna read it. He's gonna read it, and he's gonna love it, because this book is amazing. Everyone should read it.
Okay, next one we have Pluto, which is a series by Naoki Urasawa, who is very well known for his thrillers in Japan. So it's another manga, as you could see here. It is a sci-fi... It's a sci-fi thriller. If you've ever heard of Osamu Tezuka or of Astro Boy, it is a manga series from the 60s, I think it is, way back when. And what he did was he essentially took a very well-known arc in Astro Boy, and he expounded, I think it's 2 chapters in Astro Boy, and he expanded it into 8 volumes of essentially a thriller mystery, following a detective android who is investigating a series of android murders and who can possibly be behind it. It's very dark, it's very grounded, and it is just, for what I appreciate about it is, I love Monster, I love what I've read of 20th Century Boys. I still haven't finished that because when I started reading it, it was still ongoing. And what I like about this, it is a very condensed story. It's 8 volumes long. It's boom, 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 done. So if you're looking to maybe get into Naoki Urasawa, this is one that I've very much always recommended as my go-to because it is nice and short and effective and just fantastic.
Unlike One Piece, it won't take you 3 years to get through it.
3 years? Kiersten, One Piece has been going for decades. Come on, stop shortchanging it.
Okay, so my next one, I do love the cover of. So, The 10,000 Doors of January. This is another one that I feel like I had seen around a lot. I liked the cover, so I was like, oh, that's pretty. But I think, if I remember correctly, it was not stocked in the fantasy section. And so I was like, and I'm not a huge, like, every once in a while I read contemporary, but it's not my fave. But someone else recommended this author. I also had just bought Once and Future Witches, and I was like, I'll buy it. I really like the cover. It's pretty. Oh my god. This book gave me so many emotions, and it's not that hard. I'm actually a very emotional person, but it made me angry and sad and happy. And it is so beautiful. The world is... I'm not going to be able, like...
Were you going to say beautiful?
No, I was going to say Victorian. I was trying to figure a time period, and I think,
okay.
Victorian? I might be totally wrong. I'm not a historian. But I think it's around Victorian times, so it is a little bit historical, but with these magical doors everywhere, or across the planet, that lead to other worlds. And so it is about a girl who finds out that she can open the doors and cross into the doors, but there is a secret society that's trying to close the doors. It sounds really weird, but it was so good, and some of my favorite quotes are in this, like the fact that cats are the same across all universes, which I will never get over as a cat lover, because it's so true. But yeah, I just think it was very beautifully done, really loved the characters, loved the world. So I feel like I don't hear it very often, but I will always recommend this if you love fantasy, especially if you are cool with historical fantasy.
And something I always recommend is The Angel's Game. Is it The Angels? Yeah, it's The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. It is... So, Zafon, he basically created a series that can be read in any order. So you can read this one first, you can read The Shadow of the Wind first, The Labyrinth of the Spirits first. There are, I think, 5 books in the series. You can pretty much read it in whatever order you want. This was the first one that I read. It's the one that stuck with me the most. To me, it's more superior than The Shadow of the Wind, which is the one you likely always hear about. It follows someone who is a pulp fiction writer in Spain in, I believe, the 30s or at some point in the 1900s. And I forget what the actual catalyst is of the story, but if you're a book lover and or you like gothic literature, this is a fun read for sure.
I think I read that, he recommended it to me. Fun fact. Loved it, though, but I legitimately don't think I know what it's about either. I just remember the vibes. I remember the bookstore. I remember loving it.
Good vibes.
This total book lover vibes.
Yeah, this edition I'm annoyed because I bought this on Amazon because I don't know what happened to my American edition. It didn't even come with the freaking dust jacket. I wanted it. Didn't have it. Anyway.
Okay, so this one I think is a big one on BookTube, so you probably have heard of this one, but I am going to say it again because I love it and I'm trying to get him to read it.
I'll read it. I just
Piranesi.
need to get to it.
I don't even know how to recommend this book. I loved it. And I totally understand that you have to go into it and you spend 60% of the book not knowing what is happening.
I hate that. That sounds awful.
I know. I don't care. It's... the vibes. I'm going to say this again. It's vibes. You are in this Greek building with weather. The building has weather. And this guy is there alone. There's one other person there.
Is that him?
No, this is a statue.
Oh, okay.
It's a human.
Okay, I didn't know it was a human.
No. But it's like a Greek-style museum building, but the building is the world, and it has weather, and there's tides. If you've read it, you know. If you haven't, I probably sound crazy. But it's great. You should totally read it. I would classify it as, cozy sci-fi fantasy. Maybe. Anyways, you should just read it. Just do it. Don't ask what it's about. Just read it.
It's not very long, right?
No, it's super short. It's fine.
It's not bad.
Read it.
On the other end of the spectrum, we have His Dark Materials. Probably one of the most influential books that I read for me. And it's eternally inspirational. I read so many articles. I don't think back when I read this there were videos available because the internet was in its infancy. One memory I have is that my sister, she was reading the first and second book and then went to the bookstore. It's like, oh, it's apparently a trilogy. And it had come out that day, I think. Literally that day, the third one came out. So she was able to pick that. It's just great overall story. Probably the first quote-unquote controversial thing I've read just because of how against Pullman is against organized religion, specifically the people involved and everything there, and that very much comes across in this story, which is why it's been, I don't know if it's been actually officially challenged, but I know
it's
a lot
been
of people...
banned.
Has it? Okay.
You did it in our banned books class. You did a
I don't remember if
presentation
it
on
was.
it.
I don't remember, Kiersten. That was 13 years ago.
We were in a banned books class together. That's how we met.
That was 15 years ago or more. I don't remember that.
Stop telling people how old we are!
You're the one who did it. Anyway, but yeah, His Dark Materials is very good. I have problems with the narrative aspect of it, but overall, it's still really good. You need to check it out. So, His Dark Materials.
So, this book. This is... I don't think it's the first Dark Academia book that I read, but I think it is the first Dark Academia book that I when the genre became a thing, I read. So yes, I have read this, and I have not read A Secret History. It's on my TBR. So, a lot of people compare that book to this book, or this book to that book.
Do we have that?
We do, yeah. It's right there.
Oh, there. Okay. You go ahead. I'm going to look.
Anyways, I have not read that book yet, so I cannot tell you, one book's better than the other. But I personally... Stop taking over my book.
Sorry.
I personally am El Rio. I might be mildly in love with.
Did you say you're El Rio?
ML.
Oh, ML Rio. Okay, the author. Got it. Continue.
I loved this book. It gave me so many emotions. I've read it twice now. The second round was just as good as the first. The second time I read it, I spent way too much time highlighting Shakespeare quotes and interpreting the Shakespeare quotes and how the story is going. There's a lot of Shakespeare in this, so I get why some people complain about it. Because they're like, oh, she's quotes. They like literally quote Shakespeare at each other, which, as someone who was in theater, it's really realistic. I'm not gonna lie. They quote a lot of Shakespeare, but the Shakespeare they're quoting is also tied in with the whole theme of the book and what happens and what's going to happen. It is a mystery. It is dark. It is gritty. It is funny. It is beautiful. I wouldn't say I love all the characters. You love to hate them.
But you don't need to love all the characters. I feel like that's a...
But yeah, it was like, you don't need to love them. In fact, it's very purposely, like, literally, it's called If We Were Villains. I don't think you're supposed to love the characters. These guys are not great sometimes. They make really stupid decisions. But, like, it's so well done, and you get why they're making the decisions they are, even when you're just like, are you kidding me? Why would you do that? I loved it. I think everyone should read it. Yeah.
It's on my TBR, to be honest, so, yeah. Oh, shit. What's this? Oh, look, what is this? Oh my god. Is this?
I had nothing to do with this.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is our book that I will never stop recommending. Definitely check it out. You can find it at mahiabooks.com or, on Amazon if that's more your jam. Though I don't know if we're ever going to get it up on Audible because, lots of trouble getting it up on Audible, I'll tell you. I don't know what... But look at this. Look at this little watermark there. It's very pretty. And it's basically a fantasy story set in a South American-inspired world. Definitely check it out. I'll never stop recommending it. How did that get there? Whoops.
Okay. Anyway, the last one I have to talk about is A Psalm for the Wild-Built. It's teeny. Like, literally, it takes absolutely no effort to read this book. So this is Becky Chambers. She is... The best I can say is cozy sci-fi. It's cozy sci-fi. What was the solar...
Solar punk?
Solar punk. I just heard this term. I'm learning this. It is solar punk. But, so, as a therapist, as someone who literally talks to people to make them feel better for a living, this book is about a tea monk who goes around and makes tea and talks to people to make them feel better. And is having like an existential crisis and ends up going into the wild and meets a robot and talks to a robot about what it is to be human and what it is to be sentient and what it is to be on the planet. Loved it. So many quotes. I have underlined so many. I actually originally, I think, read this on the library, like on Kindle, and then I bought it because I was like, I need to read this again and I need to be able to underline everything. So it also it is a series, so it moves on and keeps going. So it's light, it's fun, but also so deep and so moving. Absolutely love it. It is slow, but make a cup of tea and drink tea while reading it and let it be slow, because that is the point.
The last on my list is a Brandon Sanderson book, The Way of Kings. This is a book that I've owned since it came out on paperback, so I want to say 2011 or so. This is clearly not the paperback version. That book has been made love to profusely between now and then, or between back then and now. It actually sat on my bookshelf for about 8 years, moved between several places before I finally was like, all right, that book, that giant book, because I had never read Brandon Sanderson before that I had for so long, I guess I'm just going to read it. Finally, I'll get to it. And oh my god, it was amazing. It is a fantasy war epic set on an alien-like planet where there are these things called high storms that have essentially shaped the planet into where a lot of the plant life has shells or very protective features. The animals also tend to have shells, very crustacean-like in nature. And yeah, it follows several different perspectives in the midst of war. One person is a slave who used to be
He's the best.
a warrior, or warrior, is that the right word? A soldier, that's
Soldier.
the word. Soldier. You have essentially a general, his son. Then you have somebody who is, what is Shallan? I guess just a noblewoman.
Scholar.
A noblewoman trying to be a scholar, and it's about the culmination of their stories together over the course of this giant epic. It's over 1,000 pages long. The first of...
I think it's the shortest of the series.
The shortest of the series so far. It's really amazing if you're into slow burn. It takes a bit to get going. I'd say about 100 to 200 pages, but once you get into it, very satisfying. And I say I won't stop recommending it. If you're like, hey, I like monk and robot size books, then okay, I probably won't recommend this to you. But this is good for if you like longer stories.
I would like to point out, so I have a lot of issues with adult fantasy books. I grew up on YA. I like female characters. Surprising, I know. And I've had trouble getting into a lot of adult fantasy books. Obviously, I read George R. R. Martin and Game of Thrones. This was probably the second big series I read that I was like, I like this. Me and Dalinar have a conflictual relationship. We're not going to talk about Oathbringer. But I really enjoy it, 100% worth it, planning on finishing the series, and I think that says something, because that is not my normal genre.
Epic fantasy.
Like, epic, adult, hardcore fantasy.
Anyways, she doesn't really have that complex of relationship, Dalinar. She just thinks his chapters are boring. That's it.
It's a complex relationship!
She gets bored. Well, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
I don't.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully
you found
something new, or either that, or you got your opinion reaffirmed, or you just think we're a couple of complete idiots that you'll never watch again, in which case I hope you've enjoyed this video.
Comment below
if any of those apply to you, and please subscribe. We'll have lots of more content for you to enjoy, and we will hopefully see you in the next video.